Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We usually play some games and stuff like that, but today it's Endless Day. It's the anniversary of Amplitude, and we got two of the founding members here. We got Jeff and Romain. And today we're just going to be chatting about, the studio, the history, sort of what's to come, and everything in between. As I said before, it is Endless Day. It is the anniversary of the studio, and it also happens to be your birthday, Romain.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
So
Thank you.
feel free to sing happy birthday, those of you who are watching.
Well,
Yeah.
as long as I don't sing.
Yeah. We won't sing. You don't want that.
How did that work out? Did it just happen to land on your birthday?
Honestly, it was just by mistake. Actually, we were trying to get all the papers done. Brought it to the government place to bring all the files, and happened to be my. Actually, you know what? I think we brought it on the day before, but it was after 5 p.m. So it was. Sorry, we kind of closed, but. That's fine. I'll process it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I thought it was like a little birthday present to yourself.
Well, now it is. No, I cannot forget. I'm getting older. So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, it's been 9 years. How does it feel? Has it felt like that long? Has it felt shorter? What's it like for you guys?
For me, it's like a lifetime in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, and in some weird ways was yesterday when we were just on the beach chatting about maybe we should do some the place of our dreams, to create the games of our dreams. And sometime it's been so many things happening.
Yeah.
The creation of the universe, the games. Each time when you ship a game, you feel like you will never be able to ship.
All the releases, all the DLC. It's like, this is the last time I'm doing. But I had this idea for another.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Wow.
So it's been great. No, for me, it's like a pinch me. Like I'm dreaming. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's been an amazing ride. It's been really super fun.
That's
for
awesome.
me. I mean, I don't carry this sort of the same responsibility other people do. I just get to make stuff up. I don't actually have to make code that works. Or make sure the finances are okay.
Yeah.
It's a great random generator of words.
Yeah, exactly. I got some more words today.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's go back to the beginning. When you were first starting Amplitude, what were those conversations like for you guys? Was it, how come?
It was at a moment where the PC gaming was supposed to be more or less dead, and digital was just nothing. It was all you had to go through publishers. And the dream that we had was to be able to work on niche games. The games that we loved. We knew that few people like-minded would love them as well. And in order to do that, we believed we were at the right moment to be able to sell directly these games to these people who love them. We didn't need that many people to love these games, and that's why we started Amplitude, to be able to address that. Actually.
Yeah.
So. And it's true, we saw that it could be done without any publishers originally, because if you come and see a publisher and say, you know what, I want to do a niche game, well, at least 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have been that popular.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's interesting because when we launched Amplitude, I think there were two things that were just coming onto the market that were a big boost for us. One of us was Steam was just getting started, and it wasn't like 100 games a week. It was like 100 games a year, So the playing field was a lot less crowded. Which was great, So we got into digital. We knew the guys at Steam because we'd worked on a game with them before. And the other really great thing for us was Unity. So we didn't have to build our own engine and build all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So those two things kind of came along at the same time, and it just worked out really well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it always going to be strategy games right from the get-go? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I've always been a big fan of strategy, and I was so sad not to see the games I wanted to play, not existing basically. So for a while, and we realized, that, and again, I mean, there was a craving at the time for this kind of strategy games, deep games, but the problem as well is the way. I saw them, we saw them, because we're all agreeing with that in the group, like with Corinne as well.
Right.
It's like, we want to make them, good looking. We want to spend time. We want to have a real universe. And this whole idea was, many of the few existing many of the few. It's interesting that.
Yeah.
But anyway, many existing games, in the genre were very indie and very focused on game design, which is great.
Right.
Some of the mechanics being offered were amazing, but it was sometimes a bit sterile.
Yeah.
It's all about numbers, not enough about sinking yourself in that universe, in these characters, in the art. And especially when you think fantasy, when you think sci-fi, it's such a great excuse, to dream and let yourself go, and for artists to express themselves.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the things that we really wanted to do with our first games was improve the user interface.
Yeah.
Because a lot of user interfaces from 10, 15 years ago in 4X games are, they're you're not really learning how to play the game. You're learning how to tell the game to do what you want it to do,
Yeah.
And we wanted to make all that really simple and really transparent, so you just dive right into the gameplay itself, and you're making important strategic decisions, not trying to remember where the slider is that you need to move something. So there's a lot of things like this. We had the advantage of coming with like a completely fresh look.
Yeah. So in a way, you guys were trying to make a game that you yourselves would want to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Romain had this greate thing. We were at his house, brainstorming stuff once, and I said, so why do you want to film? And he's like, I want to fill my bookshelf with all the games that nobody else is making, but that I want to play.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I see that.
That is really
That's
cool.
really good.
Yeah. What about the name Amplitude? How'd that?
So actually, Jeff found a list of all the names that we thought of.
We spent literally weeks trying to come up with a name for the studio. I mean, we actually found online game studio name generators. We're clicking the button and see what they like. We're trying anything. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Trying to pretend he was a name generator.
That and everything else, believe me. So we found an old list.
Yeah.
So one of the things for me that was very important was, we need to have something positive, to have a positive vibe about the game. Dark Legion.
Well, yeah,
Dark.
okay.
Thank you,
Dark
Jeff, for the
Legion.
positive.
I think one of them was actually, we also wanted to make the player go, what does that mean? So we came up with Happy Plague. Like, no.
Yeah, it's like, Jeff, let's be positive. Oh, Happy Plague. That's positive.
Well, it says
Yeah.
happy.
Or E-Legion.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, we're lucky. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, naming anything for me personally is the hardest part of any process. When I have a kid, it's going nameless for 2 years at least. So,
But I think with the Amplitude though, it's actually very quickly because you came up with the Amplitude. So
I don't even remember why.
after a couple of weeks, of being depressed with
And
all
you come
the-
up with that, we were Foundry 51
Yeah.
and Black Legion or Black River, right?
Black
we were almost
River,
Black
River.
had a lot
Nice.
of votes at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of black things.
Yeah.
But anyway, you came up with Amplitude, and I think it was very quickly for everyone the right name.
I think the advantage with Amplitude is it didn't offend anybody. Where a lot of the other stuff I came up with, they're like, "What? No."
yeah.
But everyone said Amplitude. Yeah, okay. It's kind of a positive thing.
Yeah.
It works
Yeah.
in French, works in English.
Exactly,
It's
that's
very
important.
Very
Yeah.
international.
Yeah.
Nice. So at this point, when it's all starting out, did it feel risky at all for you guys? Were you leaving full-time jobs to kind of do this thing, or was
So we
it?
all left full-time jobs.
Yeah.
I was freelancing.
Well, you're freelancing full-time, so
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
pretty
true.
much, right? So
Yeah.
I think we definitely all left all our jobs
Right.
at the time. We're more or less working together as a team. So it was scary, but at the same time, I think we're very sure of ourselves.
Yeah.
As you reminded with Steam, going up,
Right.
every year, having so many more games than the year before. Personally, as a user at the time already, I could not imagine playing otherwise than being on Steam.
Yeah.
So it's and game-wise, what's so obvious, there was such a craving. So we had a bit of experience already, I think 10 or 15 years of experience for all of us, each of us, of course.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of experience. It felt right, actually. So
Yeah.
it was a bit scary because of that. Yes, of course, you had a salary. It was sure. But then, we raised some money, and very quickly, it felt like, at least we're funded to do the first game.
Yeah.
We know about the second game, but we
Right.
only had to make 30,000 copies to
Yeah.
make it work. So
Okay.
I thought it was 60, 30?
no, so 30,000 was to break even,
Break even,
and
really?
60,000 was to be able to pay for the next game.
Nice.
So
right.
we had to
okay.
reach actually 60
Okay.
to actually have another game.
Right. So exactly. I mean, so it was, I mean, it's a very, I don't know, for any guys out there who've been entrepreneurs, it's like you start calling your your richest friends and saying like, hey, how'd you like to invest $10,000 in my company? And they're like,
and now you're
Jeff,
calling me.
what do you do? Well, I'm like, I'm inventing worlds for like, yeah, okay, yeah, Jeff, and it's tough. It's not that easy. But I put money in. All the founders put money in. We got friends and family to put money in, and it's very sobering because it's like, okay, this is in the bank. All right, this is the day it runs out.
Yeah.
So it's like it really clarifies things. It's like the money has to start coming in a little before that, so we can keep paying the salaries.
For sure.
So
we,
it's
we
really
didn't have to go to the bank though because we ran out of money actually.
It's a harrowing thing, but it's been great. It's been a phenomenal experience.
Definitely. So when you started Amplitude, was it you start the company and then think of what you're going to do, or was it synonymous with the endless universe? Did you have the endless universe in mind, or did you create it after?
During, right?
During.
Yeah. I mean, we knew because of the art that we needed, because of the writing we needed, we knew we had to work a lot on the universe, and not just make up things as we went along. We had to really thought it through. We spent a lot of time with Jeff and Max, who's another founding members of the team. Spent a lot of time thinking about the universe and trying to make it interesting, basically, to try to. What was tricky is how to make it a universe that is surprising and yet familiar.
Right.
So it's always to try to be in the two and a universe in which we would love to live in, basically.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I remember the idea was, and I was just saying, oh great, we can create. We're doing a game. Let's throw some sci-fi stuff in. Then Romain's more like, yeah, but if this game works well and we do a second one, we don't want to just like have some universe we threw together that we're kind of stapling and band-aiding for the next game. So that let's stop and really build a universe.
Yeah.
Incidentally at the same time as we're doing the game dev, and that's been fantastic because once we start doing Legend and Space 2 and Dungeon, there's always stuff we can refer to and ideas we can pick on and that sort of thing. So it's been a really useful thing to have this sort of Bible that we spent so many hours putting together.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, guys, if you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat and we'll get to them a little bit later on in the stream. But for the Endless Universe, where did that idea sort of come from? Is it inspired by anything in particular, or do you guys just like space and you're like, let's just make these games in space?
We definitely wanted to make sure that it would just be more interesting than just throwing things in space. There was this one thing I was sure I did not want actually. I didn't even do that actually. I didn't want to have floating whales in space. I don't know why. I was so sure I did not want that. But anyway, so that was this one thing. But no, sure, things we wanted. Definitely, they were a few key things we wanted. First of all, we wanted to have that world which would be a mix of magic and tech.
Yeah.
And when you don't always know what is magic, what is tech. And that was kind of the key elements around which we kind of build the universe of the Dust, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think. Well, the advantage of Dust is because we knew we were going to do primarily strategy games, so there had to be a common resource that everybody wanted. Mm-hmm. Whether they're androids or plant people or thank you flying space trees. That's for the community. Or humans or whatever. There had to be a resource that was strategic for everybody. And so from that, it sort of came. Well, okay, it's a physical resource, and kind of like the Force or like the spice in Dune, but and so based around that, then we start going, yeah, but it's cool to have the Force, that bit of magic, a little swords and chivalry, as well as the spaceships and that sort of thing. So it was a lot of, but there was tons of influences. Romain, you were a huge fan of Battlestar Galactica at the time when that went, so that came in, and
Dune to the latest.
Dune is absolutely that first novel. I read it when I was like 14. I was like.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
The Princess of Amber.
The Amber Chronicles. Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff.
The right name in English, but
I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, it's funny because definitely you find by all this universe you loved to sink in when you were a kid, and suddenly it's like, okay, now if I want to make my own, of course all of that influence you, but to make your own mix. And one thing which is important, in a strategy game is, as you were saying, to have a good excuse, of course, for conflict, and thus was one of them. But also to think that every single people you can play can have their own view of the universe.
Yeah.
To say, okay, let's imagine I am that person within that people, and how will I see the universe? How will I look at the dust? And then to be able to play something else which would have a totally different view on the same universe. I think that was also a very interesting thing that we really loved with it.
Yeah. We worked an awful lot on trying to make all the factions, really pretty, almost radically different from each other as far as play style, as far as look, as far as sort of the lore and the feel and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so they all really come to Universe with like their own desires, their own dreams, their own conflicts and that sort of thing. And I think it's been an awful lot of fun coming up with things, like Horatio, like the Vaulters, like the Vojani, the Riftborn, and then all the factions in Endless Legend were just like, all right, there's this lab under the planet, what came out of it? Just like all kinds of crazy ideas. It was really fun.
I just want to say it must feel so cool just because you started off with Endless Space, and that in itself offers this pretty rich sort of universe, and now you're 4 games in or 5 games in counting Love Thyself, and you have this like massive thing. It must feel so strange and awesome.
That's pretty cool. I have to say, I think we have an awful lot more stories to tell in the universe, so we'll see where that goes.
Time periods, all the characters to discover.
Definitely.
Do you guys have a favorite faction or character or anything like that in the game?
For me, you just pronounced its name, but I love Horatio. Because I think he's funny. I love the way to say I'm so beautiful. I want to change the universe to my own look. It's just like it's great, and a lot of references around that, obviously. But for me, I love Horatio. I love the look of the Vodiani and this kind of thing. It's pretty cool. So.
I think anytime we throw some ideas to the artists and the designers, they come back with like these amazing things.
Yeah,
that's the thing is like I like to say that I'm the lore meister and that sort of thing, but everybody built the universe. Romain did half of it, and then there's designers, artists, even programmers, all kinds of tons of ideas from the marketing guys. It's just a big mix of Amplitude Studios, so it's okay if I get hit by a bus tomorrow. The endless universe is just fine.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I'm not asking for it, of course.
It's like we're working in the loop. So like maybe Jeff or an artist or a designer starts, with a starting point on the faction, then moves on to the artist, that you start to draw something. And then Jeff maybe has the lore, the initial or the need from the designer, the look from the artist, makes him think of something. Then he comes up with the lore, which maybe in turn modifies the design.
Wow.
And then the artists look at the modified designs. Actually, I could.
Here's a cool thing.
And so we sometimes go like around a few loops of that
cycle.
Which is interesting, where we all definitely contribute and to modify several times actually the concept.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Or sometimes we get stuck, and then that could last for a long time.
I mean, so many of the factions in the games are super interesting, but Horatio in particular it's just a testament to how, like, it's ridiculous, the idea behind it, but it fits so well in the universe, and it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Any lessons you've learned from the Endless Universe that you're bringing with you into future projects? Humankind comes to mind right away.
So in term of universe building, obviously it's a bit different,
right?
With Humankind.
Yeah.
So that will be very different. Game-wise, I mean, whenever you do a game, obviously there's so much that you learn. For X, it's such a huge and deep genre. We definitely learn a lot about game mechanics, balance. But what's interesting is like each time we think we got it right, we have something that proves us that we got it wrong. So it's always it's such an iterative process. And what is true is it's always when people play the game, when you play the game, when you start like playtesting, that you will discover like what you got right or wrong. So that's why we need to have that process with the community, playing together the game, and looking at the feedback and going back to the drawing board, because even if in theory it works, Sometimes it could be like could be bland, it could be too complex.
Right.
Yeah.
A good idea that you could explain in one sentence. In game terms, it means a lot of buttons to press all over.
Yeah.
So it's what we know is we want to make sure that people have a very simple interaction with the game, and yet to have a lot of consequence from this simple interaction.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. The whole idea that your gameplay decisions will come back to either to help or haunt you, 10, 20, 30, 50 turns later, that sort of thing. That I mean, from the lore point of view, clearly it's different. We're doing there's, because it's a 4X game, there's sort of similar blocks. You're building things, you're building units, you're creating cities. So there's some similarities there. But it's going to be a different style. It's going to be a different approach. It's actually really exciting. It's really fun to watch it sort of take shape in its own way.
Yeah.
And there's a huge amount of lore content in there. It just happens to be real.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Definitely. What excites you most, sort of on that point, what excites you most about working on a project that is, I guess, a little further removed from what you've been working on in the past? I guess for the past 4 games, Endless Space, Endless Legend, Space 2, and Dungeon of the Endless, they're all in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to kind of shift to something that's not in the universe?
Well, it is refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We worked a lot on the Endless Universe. As much as we love it, it definitely is refreshing. And I think each time we refresh ourselves with like game design, by for example going from a 4X to Dungeon of the Endless, for example, it's refreshing to be able to change. So when you go back to another 4X, or in our case, if going from Humankind, if we go back to the Endless Universe, I think to have that little pause helps us to have a better perspective on some more endless games. So I think was a good break, also a good one to focus on mechanics as well. So because we're not spending as much time as creating a universe, and creating a universe also is painful for the creator. For me, definitely it's painful. I think for the artist, for yourself, it's you put a lot of yourself.
Really
in.
time consuming, really complicated.
It can be. So it's painful because you love what you're creating, right? It's a bit of yourself. But other history, you're a bit more, outside of it. It already happened. Now you do have a responsibility towards history, and that is some other discussions we can have.
Right.
How do we cover certain topics? So it's more about being responsible than giving a bit of yourself.
Yeah. I think in a way it's kind of cleansing. You sort of you clean the desktop. You're doing different kinds of things from different sources.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. But I mean, I've always been a history geek. I studied engineering and history. I got a double major in university.
Oh.
So it's always been a thing I loved. When I was a little kid, I was reading the Mom and Dad's National Geographic. Even if I didn't understand the words, I was like, oh, this cool map of the world in 1298 or whatever. Look at I always loved that kind of thing. So it's really cool to go back and to be seeing this, civilizations I never heard of, even though I studied history. That because these guys, they were there at the same time as these guys, but in this part of the world you never heard of them, but they existed and they're a culture in the game now. And so I mean that kind of thing I think is really really interesting. So I mean, for like a personal point of view, you'll learn a whole lot about like I said, real stuff. Not just making it up.
Yeah, definitely. How does the writing process, I guess, change for you? I guess the endless universe is something that is coming out of your mind, right? And
our mind. Yeah,
our
I'd like to say
mind.
it's mine, but I can't. But
yeah. But Humankind, a lot of the cultures in the game are cultures that have existed. All of them are, and so how does that change your process in sort of writing?
It changes it a lot. I mean, because so much of it is sort of predefined. We have a couple of full-time historians we're working with. So if there's ever a question about something, we talk to them, they explain things, or they research, they call one of their colleagues and something like that. So what we're putting into the game is as factually accurate as we can make it.
Yeah.
Given what we know about certainly the older cultures, and so it's a whole different process because all that's a given. Then you focus more on the downstream stuff, because you're not spending all the time upstream inventing a new faction.
Yeah.
You're more of the time downstream, like what are their units? What are their buildings? Why? How is the player going to play them? What are their bonuses? Why? How does that tie into actual history? How can it tie into the the other civilizations you might play earlier or later, and so we're dealing with a whole different set of questions, and that's it's just like it's cleansing. It's like a detox. It's pretty fun. I think.
It's interesting to see also that it's something that we always think, what are we learning from that? And I think we'd love to be able to look at history and be able to say, hey, I didn't know that's interesting. And maybe our players will look at it the same way. So we love to look at it as not bringing just what people already know about history, but hopefully, of course there will be a lot of things people will know. But if some people play the game and say, well, I learned a lot by playing that game about history, and I would love that. It's a nice consequence.
So cool. Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to do all this research with our historians. And actually, they are writing a lot of content as well for the game.
Yeah.
The historians, of course, Jeff is making sure it's nice to read.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they can actually contribute directly to the game.
Definitely.
Awesome. Really cool. So what does us working on Humankind mean for the Endless Universe from your perspective?
What does it mean to work on Humankind for the
what?
Endless
Yeah. What does it mean for the future of the Endless Universe?
I don't think that working on Humankind means anything towards for the Endless Universe. As we said, it's just probably a pose in the Endless Universe, but it has no consequence. I think it's a new IP in a way. So and I think we'll be very happy to keep working on history. But fantasy, science fiction, we love that, and there's so much we want to do there. So it's I hope we'll be able to keep expanding on the universe as well. Awesome. But it's not really linked to Humankind. It's just
Great. No, Humankind. It's a really ambitious project for us. It's a very big project for us. But it's not like we're only going to do Humankind IP now. We have lots of little ideas going on. What we could do with the Endless Universe. So we're going to have both of these moving forward. We're definitely going to do some cool stuff with the Endless, with the universe, and hopefully amazing and cool stuff with Humankind as well. So it's great. It doesn't. I think really the effect is positive to sort of like clear your head, work on something else, and come back and go, wow, what we can do now. And
absolutely.
I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. For sure. I guess we can take some questions from the chat. Stefan, do we have any
Yes.
any out there? Yeah.
If I manage to move it over here.
Yeah, for sure. So Sharpshot88 asks, if you didn't develop 4X games, what genre would you like to make?
So for me, when I started in the industry, there were 3 genres I wanted to make. First one was shooter, multiplayer shooter. So I've done that.
Nice.
4X and RPG. So 4X now I've done that. So
nice.
More to do.
Yeah, I mean, as a lore guy, RPGs are really appealing. The thing is, it's like you need a team of like about 200 just writers, to do something like The Witcher. So it's like, whoa, maybe not. But I mean, something, a lot of our games, we do 4X games with heavy RPG elements because that's, we just sort of, we like that style. So I mean, whatever, if we do a platformer, maybe it's RPG heavy or a action adventure that's RPG heavy. But having that sort of the lore element is something I really like.
And there was a bit of that in a way in Dungeon Warfare. So
sure.
And and I think the way we look, even at the 4X, you always have a legend, this little RPG thing. There's all over. It's not an RPG. But it's cool stuff we could do there.
Awesome. Peeble, I'm sorry if I butchered that. Have you considered selling endless books, comics, novels as merch?
So one thing I have to say is I've been asking Jeff to write his book for for 9 years in the Endless Universe.
Yeah.
And so when are you doing your book? I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah. When my workload goes down to 50%. I mean, we'd love to do that. Obviously, we've done tons of comics for the factions in Space 2, and we did like a choose your own adventure kind of thing during Legend. So I mean, we'd love to do that. It's one of the things that we're thinking about.
You're right, actually, a few pages, the first page of your book.
Yeah. Steve and I are working on some. Steve is the other like major writer that's working on our game. So we're working on some ideas. We're.
I think in 10 years we may have it.
Yeah. On stream.
Great.
On stream just the other day, I was saying how cool it would be to have a book in the Endless Universe. So I'm hyped about that.
Alright.
You guys just got me hyped.
We had fun with the comics, actually.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
comics are a lot of fun. They're a lot of work.
So-
Yeah.
Because the whole visual novel sort of thing is not so easy. Oh, and the Horatio
Yeah,
visual
Horatio.
novel, that was a lot of fun to do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So,
Van McGod asks, is there a chance that you would compile a lore? Is there a chance that you would compile a lore of Endless Universe in some kind of book or guide, broader than in quest descriptions, etc.?
Kind of the player's handbook.
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah, we have actually, we've done a lot of work to try to pull the stuff from all the different Endless games into sort of a reference, an internal reference site.
Yeah.
It is, because I did a lot of work on it, it's ghastly ugly and not very exploitable, but yeah, we're trying to put all the stuff together. We've done art books and that sort of thing. And, you know, I think those are great because you get some of the lore, you get all these amazing visuals from artists. So yeah, we're trying to come up with a lore compendium, but the problem with that is how do you make that public? Because there's stuff we want to kind of keep hidden, maybe for future stuff, so we can't really expose it. So how do we package? You know, it's a thing we're working on. So yeah, someday it's like, you know, before the novel maybe. Anyway, but yeah, it's something we're working on.
Southtown Hound asks, how do you feel Humankind will differentiate itself from games like Civ?
So, quite a few things already. So obviously, we would not have done Humankind if we believed it was just another Civ. We love the games like Civ and a great series of game. But there's obviously a lot of things we wanted to do in history or in 4X, and I think a lot of that we tried with Endless Legend already. We wanted to try a few things with the terrain, with the way we did the battles, with the economy, how also we bring more narration in the game. This is a lot of the elements wanted to do,
Yeah.
and obviously how we looked at history, how we looked at what is a civilization, what does it mean really in terms of immersion, and for us we liked the idea of looking at history as something which is ever moving, ever evolving. With that, and hence the whole thing about changing cultures, when you change era and picking a new culture adapted to that era.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's such a great way, gameplay-wise, to really adapt the game to your gameplay style.
Yeah.
Which we had a bit in Endless Legend, where each faction was so unique.
Right.
Yeah.
And there, it's the same idea. You'll be able to create your own faction in a very unique way by these combinations.
Yeah.
So it's something that is basically no other games is really doing that. So it's we are extremely confident in the difference, but yet it's there are 4 axes about history. You have some common grounds. We don't want people to be lost either. We have key innovations, but you don't want to be lost about what is a 4X and what is a 4X about history.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think there's some things that can be our battle system is very different from Civ. Just the fact that over time you combine different cultures to create your civilization is, I think that's a really unique take on not just the 4X genre, but it's like, it's human history. It's actually like that. I'm American, but I'm actually like a lot of Irish, Scottish, English, and then a ton of French, and I got some Central American in there, and it's, that's just how we all are today, right?
Yeah.
We're this mix of our past, and I think to reflect that in the 4X game is a very cool thing.
Yeah.
So there's ideas like this that really appeal to me. I think do set us apart from Civ.
Yeah. I'll take a couple more. A Sharpshot 88 again asks, how far are you into negotiations for an endless
Nearly
Netflix?
Just a couple
Just about.
An endless Netflix TV series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would be awesome.
That would be good.
Well, if we can get Henry Cavill to play somebody, I'm
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Alcool Legenial, I'm so sorry. Will we be seeing a Dungeon of the Endless 2 at some point in the future?
It's a great game. It's funny because we organize all these events with the community and the fans of the games that we make. It's funny to see tendencies. For I think a while back, when even after releasing Legend, most people were talking about was Endless Space. I was a bit annoyed because I just released Endless Legend, and all people were telling me in this, so what about Endless Space? When are you going to improve it? Add-ons, next Endless Space, whatever. So just release Legend. You should try it. But anyway, then a few years after, it was all about Endless Legend. But we're all about releasing Endless Space 2. So again, Endless Space 2. And then getting to a point where actually. Not until after Endless Space 2, I got a lot of people coming back to me with Dungeon of the Endless. But the past year or a couple years, actually, a lot of players coming back. And what was interesting to see that actually a lot of them were mentioning Dungeon of the Endless, mentioning actually the multiplayer of Dungeon of the Endless, which was surprising because it's something that we added at last minute after a crazy vote, which we should have never done, where people picked multiplayer as
totally Band-Aid and baling wire that multiplayer. That was
So it was insane. Also, it's interesting, but so nothing in the near future on that, but it's definitely Dungeon of the Endless, a game which is very dear to us. So one day, we'll definitely have to go back to that.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, it was super fun to make. Really fun to write the stuff. Just go off and do whatever crazy stuff you want. It's really the only game that that we've made we can have like references to pop culture and stuff like that, and silly humor and whatever. So it was a real kick to write, and so I'd be very happy to go back and do that again. So we'll see. Let's get Humankind solid and out the door and awesome, and then then we'll see.
So just to go back on Legend and writing, Dungeon and writing. So actually. It's funny because during actually Endless Space, Endless Legend, Jeff has a tendency to go a bit wild, and so sometimes like, Jeff, you can't do that. So we had to tell him, okay, with the softens, do whatever you want. It's your own. So Jeff really had fun with the softens.
Yeah.
And with Dungeon of the Endless, we told him, Jeff, you can do whatever you want. It's your own writing. So if you like the tone in Dungeon, it's a lot of that in there.
Awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
So we'll keep doing that.
Really a kick.
That's great. Yeah, we just played Dungeon of the Endless on stream. It's my personal favorite Amplitude game. I just love the blend of strategy and roguelike gameplay. It's awesome.
It's cool.
And then last question from Psychana. Does Jeff have business cards declaring him the narrative emperor yet?
We haven't watched that yet.
I'm using that as my title. I don't actually have physical paper proof, but
we could prove that.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
Awesome. I just have one more question for you guys, and then we'll call it. Now that we're part of the Sega family, what's changed? Do we still consider ourselves an indie studio? How do you guys feel about that?
So, well, it's funny because 2 years or 3 years before joining Sega, I had people telling us, you're not in indie studio anymore. I was getting so mad at that. What? Of course we're in indie studio. No, you are successful.
Yeah.
What? Because
wait a minute.
You're not successful, by the way. So it's funny because at the time, I think it's going to be better now, but a lot of people had a lot of different meanings for what is in the studio. No, we're definitely not in the studio anymore. That's obvious. But that being in the studio doesn't mean that you can't be creative. I think the sense of freedom we had as an indie studio, and the sense of freedom for that creativity or for the project, the games we're doing, hasn't changed really. Because and actually in a way, I would say it's even better. Being independent sometimes, well, obviously we did run out of money quite a few times, and it does add a lot of stress. And when you're stressed, or personally when I'm stressed, I'm not that creative, we need to ship it, it's different. And I think when you go in that whole we need to ship it mode, you kill the creativity. The good thing is with Sega is, they're not like that with us. They're not pushing us to ship, too soon. Just to get the game right. They're not getting involved in the content side. So I think we could have never done That's sure. We could have never done Humankind alone.
Sega.
It's so ambitious, so big, that we would have run out of money a long time ago, and probably would have taken bad decisions on the creative side because of that. So I think we are extremely lucky. So no, we're not independent. But I think we are freer than ever to be creative.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been, I was really nervous at the beginning, and all our community was like, oh no, they're gonna force you to release DLC that's not finished, that that kind of. It's like they've been great. They've been really great. They've been supportive, creatively, as Romain was saying, creatively. We do the games we want, and they look at the schedules and that sort of thing, and the finances, the marketing, and they basically give us support to do what we want. I think it's been a great experience. I think exactly without them, we couldn't have made Humankind, and I think today, if we're trying to, when you're trying to release games in the market that's so crowded now, what Steam has become, how many games per day are out there, Steam and Epic and whatever else, all the, the publisher sites, there's just so much stuff. I mean, it's great to have this big, strong big brother who will help you, navigate the rapids and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been fantastic. Yeah. I mean, no regrets,
awesome.
No second thoughts. Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I know you guys are really busy, but it's awesome that we got to chat about all this stuff. It was really fun.
Cool.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. Tomorrow, we've got our last Endless Day stream. We're doing Endless Jenga Trivia. So, yeah. So we got a couple of the devs joining us tomorrow. It's going to be super fun, and I'm really excited for it. So we will see you then. Thank you so much.
And just happy birthday to Romain.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Yes. Happy birthday again.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.
Cheers.